I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Now, today we're reading from the book of Ezekiel, chapter 33, and let's focus on verses 7 through 9. So you, son of man, I have made you a watchman for the house of Israel. Therefore you shall hear a word from my mouth and warn them for me. When I say to the wicked, O wicked man, you shall surely die, and you do not speak to warn the wicked from his way, well, that wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood I will require at your hand. Nevertheless, if you warn the wicked to turn from his way, and he does not turn from his way, he shall die in his iniquity. But you have delivered your soul. Now, I love action movies, particularly those kind of James Bond, Mission Impossible, Bourne Identity type of thrillers. I like it where people are shooting people, for example. And I'm always fascinated with those scenes where the characters get past the high-tech security and they accomplish their missions. You know, we've come a long way since the Wild West bank robbing days when a cowboy would pull a bandana over his nose and run into the bank with his guns drawn. Stick 'em up. Well, as in the Wild West days, ancient cities were extremely vulnerable to attack at almost any moment. And in the days of Ezekiel, no surveillance cameras, no radar, no infrared detection devices existed. There was just the watchman, simply occupying a suitable vantage point up on the wall in a tower from which he could survey the surrounding countryside. The watchman would blow a trumpet to alert of any approaching parties, whether they be friendly or not. And the amount of time that a city would have to get its villagers safely within its city walls and ready for defensive action, well, that largely depended upon the swift actions of the watchman. The lives of the people were dependent upon the watchman's vigilance. The watchman in today's chapter is a spiritual one. The focus falls on both the watchman's duty and the people's response. Now, the watchman had two responsibilities. Number one, to watch for danger. And then number two, to warn of approaching danger. But the people likewise had to be responsible to listen to the watchman and react accordingly. So having given adequate warning, the watchman could not be held accountable if the people ignored him. If the people failed to run into the city, well, they only had themselves to blame if they fell under the sword of an invading army. Ezekiel had been Israel's spiritual watchman. He has sounded the notes of warning concerning God's judgment. And Israel should have been fully aware that their sin had placed them smack in the middle of Babylon's warpath. Being a watchman is also the commission of every follower of Jesus. That's what we are all called to do. It is the responsibility of each one of us to give a full warning to both a believer and a non-believer of the mounting consequences of rebellion against God and for having rejected his offer of salvation. Again, we are the watchmen of the Lord's ambassadors. We are ambassadors to encourage and to exhort and even to warn the people. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 20, Paul told the church in Corinth, "Now then, we are ambassadors for Christ. As though God were pleading through us, we implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God." So you and I are accountable to the Lord to warn the lost, and they are accountable for their response to our warning. I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Now, Groundworks Ministries operates entirely through financial donations from faithful people like you. And yes, we need your monthly support. Donating is secure and it's easy at our website, groundworksministries.com. You know, another way to help is just tell people about Groundworks Ministries. You can share these podcasts with friends and family and on your social media. And of course, you can always direct folks to our website, groundworksministries.com.